Well, good morning and welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. Sun's getting ready to come up. I'm out at a different location right now. I'm out in the desert, one of the rest stops. We've got a trail and some petroglyphs up here. There's a 2-mile mountain trail that goes up and down. We've got about 800 feet elevation change, and that's going to be part of my morning. This is day 4 of a fitness weight loss challenge that I'm involved in. You can follow that on Instagram or Twitter at Sideways Coyote, spelled with a K, Sideways, K-O-Y-O-T-E. You know, I have like 2 people following me, but this is, the Instagram is there for accountability, so we'll see what happens. This is my stack of episode cards, getting ready to do episodes, thoughts about stuff. Sometimes they're really short and they turn into really long videos. Sometimes they're really long and they turn into short videos. There's a correlation there that I got to figure out. This one is particularly short, so it's going to be very difficult to talk about because parsing this one single sentence or getting through the concepts of this idea. So cancel culture is an attempt to bully or remove the free market. But it's more than that, and we have to go through ideas like, what is the free market? I think that a lot of people think of the free market in very simplistic, C-A-T spells cat level, libertarian or capitalist as an ideology terms. Okay, there's capitalism as an economic tool, and then there's capitalism as an ideology, and these are different things. And I'm not so sure I really like the capitalist.org ideology part. That's me. What cancel culture does when they try to bully or remove the free market is they come together, they use information technologies to get a mob together and fulfill a need. They need to remove this company from the marketplace. They need to remove this CEO from employment. They need to make sure that this person is never employable ever again. There's a need to fire this target manager for not being nice in the appropriate way or whatever. Need is actually a really key element of this. And it's not, I don't think, if you try to have an argument with someone who's engaged in cancel culture and who promotes it, you're going to have a hard time because they're going to deny aspects like need, like the fact that their need is something they talk about. But when cancel culture happens, what it does is it says, we need to do something about this. We need to get this CEO removed. We need for social justice. Need is always there. But if you try to have an argument, so then you go to try to have a rational argument, sorry, that was a gnat, about the negative effects, then they deny all of the rhetoric again. It's like it's not logical and rational for the conversation. And these sorts of debates don't go anywhere. And they don't. But there's an idea that they're promoting a need to cancel someone or something. And that's very specifically a removal of someone's life, livelihood, freedom to live, freedom to participate. And the justification for this is that it's a free market. And so everyone should have complete access to all the information, including private information, and everyone should have the ability to remove someone else's livelihood based on outrage. I really don't go with this. I don't accept this idea. It's a negative application of the freedom of a group over the freedom of an individual, or the capability of an individual to perform their life. And the goal here is actually for a minority view to force action on others. And what the results are for everyone else doesn't matter, okay? These are almost never situations where you have an actual... We don't have an actual vote, full... This would be a stupid idea, but we don't have a full vote of 51% of Americans think that the Apple CEO needs to step down because he said a bad thing in high school. That's not how it works. What outrage culture and cancel culture does is they get together a small group of very noisy people, and they try to pressure and restructure society and what the majority is allowed to do based on that minority. There were back in the 80s, there were a lot of arguments. There was just a couple people who basically had an ability to determine what was and wasn't allowed in school textbooks at one point in time. And basically what it was some old couples with some very specific religious views who didn't like certain topics and were willing to write letters to congressmen and publishers and teachers' organizations and make it seem like they had some importance. You know, and they would write, they would threaten, they would say, we'll go to the news, we'll sue, we'll do this, we won't vote for you. So you had this very small group of... They were religious, but it was this very small group of very heavily ideological people who had control over an entire industry. And it was really crazy, okay? And we're not talking like creation science or anything weird. When you hear religion, you've been programmed to hear, woo. We're just talking about people who wanted sex ed presented in a specific way, histories presented in a specific way, sociology, social studies stuff presented in a specific way, and they didn't like things that didn't agree with their worldview. And it's not necessarily right-wing, left-wing. This is one of the reasons why you don't know about some of the real atrocities of the 20th century, even though they were committed by the bad guys, is these groups, these basically these couple of couples didn't want that information presented or didn't want that kind of thing in social studies. You know, it's supposed to be all about sweetness and light or whatever. And they had very dominant control. I read several articles about, like, why can't we publish a different textbook? Well, because these people complain. And for whatever reason, these few people have absolute influence. Cancel culture is a lot like that. Now, they make it seem bigger because we have the internet, and we have the outrage media, and we have Twitter. So, you know, you can get 1/100th of 1% of the adult American populace to say, we need to do something. Not even agree on what it is that needs to be done. And then 3 or 4 people are like, well, obviously the answer is cancel, cancel, cancel. Fire them. Fire the evil pigs. Whatever they are. And somehow the media will pick it up. And then, you know, the people in the boards of the companies, whatever, will run with it. They will obey. Remember that these are people who are also products of the cultural indoctrination system that are our educational system. You know, and our educational system, as currently constituted, was designed to create willing servants of industry and the state. And that's it. And that doesn't mean that it's a mass production. It's literally a fake factory in school. That's not what that means. It just... the primary purpose is to indoctrinate you to be willing to serve the mass viewpoint, willing to trust the media no matter how much they lie, willing to trust the government no matter how bad it is. And, you know, these are the people who are doing the firing, okay? Kicking people off the board, changing their advertising policies, because free speech is hate speech, you know? Cancel culture, let's bring it back a little bit, is an attempt to bully or remove the free market. And that's what it does. It's not... They will try to defend it as an application of the free market. Well, it's a private industry. We have the right to do this. That's... The goal here is to remove livelihoods, remove livingry, remove access to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I'm about to sneeze. So the goal is to remove liberty from others. And you can argue that you're using the free market to do that, so it's somehow morally justifiable, but the goal is to remove. The goal isn't to say, hey, I'm just going to ignore this guy, I don't like him. There's the idea that if you disagree with whatever mob is using cancel culture tactics at the moment, that you are inherently dangerous just because you're not part of the mob. Which is why they eat their own, because you can't be 100% in agreement with a mob that has that many people, that many opinions, that many people striving to find another negative hate to make them special and make them pop to the top of the mob for a while and be famous. We'll talk about hate in another video. So, the free market. I don't think free market is properly defined or used. When we talk about cancel culture is an attempt to bully the free market. I don't think we're using the phrase free market intelligently, consistently, or with full knowledge. A free market in individualist human terms, and remember that the United States is fundamentally a nation founded on individualism, the idea that you get to go do you. Okay? That's really important. Free market means protected market. And here's what I mean by that. Every time I've ever seen a situation that looked like, that had evolved out of anarchy, war-torn states in the Middle East or the Balkans, whatever. Africa is a really good example. Africa is a very painful example for just Africa sucks, man. Sorry. What you don't get is the glorious free market where everyone has adequate money and everyone has an opportunity. What you get is absolute authoritarianism, absolute monopoly, absolute control of industries, pay to play. And when I say pay to play, I don't mean, you know, you pay some money to influence a politician. I mean, you literally have to pay off this chain of people in order to open a business. That's not free market, but that's what free market advocates tend to advocate, is a situation with no government controls. And a free market is a protected market in an individualist society. That means that you have to have some protections for individual ownership and control of their own means of production, their own capital. And that's a very difficult topic because a lot of libertarians completely disagree with me or think that that's somehow built into getting rid of all regulation. And I don't think that always works very well. In fact, it doesn't work ever. I've been trying to find places and times where suddenly it worked. But if you have an ability to have a monopoly and you don't control for that, then a monopoly will form and anti-competitive practices will form. Remember your Adam Smith. Adam Smith's most famously ignored quote is that, paraphrase, "Seldom do men of an industry gather together even for merriment, but they will always engage in a conspiracy against the public." It's just the nature of things, okay? There will always be... if you have 3 major tech companies and they get together and they have a talk, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a Buddhist retreat, just whatever they're doing, if they have a talk, that talk is going to result in something anti-competitive. That's just kind of the nature of how these things work when you get monopoly or trust type situations. All right, video's getting really long. Free market requires protection. And one of the protections that it requires is against this cancel culture attempt to bully or remove the free market in favor of a mob mercantilism. Look those words up. Stay sideways. Have a good one.